Like, I hate the principle. I hate living this way. I hate this sharing. I hate feeling jealousy. I hate feeling these things.
Welcome, Tommy Channel. You know what I love to see? I love to see a woman that takes control of her life. I love to see a woman that has gone through adversity and can get through it to the other side and take care of herself and find happiness and work through her stuff, own her stuff, and then use her voice to help other people. You know, I'm a big person that says if you are part of a problem, become part of the solution. You know what I mean? Like, if you made a mistake and you told people to live a certain type of way and that you encourage people on a show for, you know, I don't even know, 17 seasons before you left, that being in polygamy was different than Warren Jeff's. It was a choice. Everyone was happy, all of those things. And you helped with your husband who basically was pushing you to do this. And by husband, not really your husband. This just some guy that had 6 children with you, but never claimed any of your kids legally. Regardless, when you've been part of a show that has promoted a very toxic lifestyle, and in many ways downplayed a lot of the issues that women face when you can come full circle and then start to use your platform to show people what it's like to get onto the other side. It can be inspiring, specifically if you know that you have friends and family members that are impacted in the same world. And if you can use your platform in a way that you've amassed through the fame, where you promoted something that was toxic and change it to help women see that they can get out. And this is what I'm seeing with Christine. So Christine has a book coming out, but she recently posted on her Instagram a video of her talking about the struggle of when she left Kody, how she felt, and what she needed to tell herself in order to be able to stay positive. I mean, I would imagine for her leaving everything, you know, leaving your patriarch, leaving a faith where you're told that if you leave, you'll go to hell and you'll start looking weird and you'll burn up and everyone will call you wicked or evil, when you know that other women that have left have been shunned or had the D-bus driven over them. And you are aware that some people in your family might end up shunning you, and friends and people at your church might no longer want to have anything to do with you. It can be pretty isolating and difficult. Christine had a lot more support than most women that leave polygamy, and she had a lot more resources. And so her path out of polygamy has been very different than a lot of women that are currently trapped in polygamy. So Christine's motives here on her social media and through writing this book appear that she would like to help women truly, you know, understand their value and understand that they can leave, and giving them hope that there's a possibility to get to the other side, and sharing her story in such a public way after spending such a long time promoting such a toxic view or such a toxic culture and cult. It's on the one hand very admirable. On the other hand, it's a little bit conflicting, but I do hope that this will help other women. You know, I was thinking about her journey out when I recently got an email from Kristen Decker, who is her aunt, and I get emails from Kristen every once in a while. I speak to her, you know, it depends on what's going on in our lives, but Kristen and I have been friends for 5 years. And Kristen has the kind of heart that she left polygamy. And, you know, when she was 50 years old, she's now in her 70s. She has spent the better part of 2 decades really trying to help women advocate for victims inside of polygamy and push back against the propaganda that got worse when Sister Wives became a show. And when I get emails from her and it's a call to help another victim that's trying to leave polygamy, and they have nowhere to go and they have no money and they have no resources and there's no shelters to take them, and they're trying to leave an abusive man with their kids and they have nothing. It's such a stark contrast to me to watching what Christine and Janelle and Mary are doing. And such a huge opportunity could be for them to start to talk about the differences that they're going through, like challenges that they've had to experience leaving alt, the economic issues that they've experienced, the pressure from family, friends, or other people to return the trauma they've endured, the therapy they might have had to go through. There's so many different layers. And a lot of times, psychologists will say that women that leave these types of relationships from these cults, it's like their trauma is asked to someone.
And this is not my perspective, but for many is that she was the first wife.
I think if anybody somehow could step into our world,
who has been a captive of war, or just a captive because they didn't have their own agency or autonomy, and there was someone else basically running the show for them. And there's so many layers of trauma and programming that have to get through to get to that other side. So Christine's recent post made me start to think about just the path she's been taking moving forward, and the journey out, and the awareness that she has about that and what she says without even saying it. So if you've left an abusive partner who belittled you and verbally abused you and economically and financially and physically and sexually, whatever it was, oftentimes yourself, esteem is completely shattered. And what she said she had to do in order to be strong enough was said. After my life changed so drastically, I felt lost, unsure of who I was or where I was headed. Then I chose one word. The word enough? I'm enough just as I am. Imperfections. And all the word became my encore when doubt crept in, reminding me that I didn't need to prove my worth. I already had it. So it's interesting that she's saying her word is enough. Mary says worthy up. Do you see the parallels? Here, there's still this level of competition between the women and how they want to help people. And, Christine didn't start doing really any of this until after Mary started doing stuff with Worthy Up. And I'm not trying to beg on her. It's just that there's still that inherent competition between these women where they all kind of feel like they need to be seen more than anyone else. But what hers and what Mary's tell me, if her word was enough and Mary's was Worthy Up, it means that they felt worthless. Kody made them feel worthless. Kody made them feel like they had to do certain things to win his love. They had to act a certain way. They had to stuff down their feelings. They had to swallow their quote, unquote, pride, which wasn't even really pride. They had to discount their inherent, natural instinct that's screaming at them and telling them this is wrong. Like everything about this situation is wrong. I shouldn't have to share my husband with someone else just to get to heaven. I shouldn't have to endure this kind of insanity. This pain, this abuse, and none of this is actually making me a better person. It's making me mentally unwell. It's hurting me. They were gaslit for such a long time that when they left broken. They might have felt powerful in leaving, but you don't leave powerful, you leave broken. You don't go through what they went through without trauma. So there's still sort of this toxic positivity that's inbred with this cult where it's all about mantras and it's all about positivity and finding, hope on the other side. And it's wonderful to give people very easy pieces, right, of advice, easy digestible content for social media to help them see themselves, right? What I have yet to see so far, though, from any of them is their discussions about therapy, their discussions about trauma-informed therapy, cognitive therapy, working with doctors, anything like that. And none of them are obligated to do that. None of them are obligated to do that at all. And we're still waiting for, the book to come out to see what's said and all of that. My hope is that the people that end up on their pages and end up in their reading their books and end up consuming this content by Christine and Janelle and Mary and whoever is going to help these women and try to use their platforms to, lift the veil, is that there are also resources that are offered as well. There's wonderful resources that can help women leave, but there's also a lack, so few shelters. There's so few nonprofits that can help with grants. There's not enough money available to help these women leave, and there's a need right now in Utah for shelters, for safe houses, for economic grants, or money to help women leave. It's really unnerving when you get messages from someone like Kristen Decker, who's telling you that there's a woman that's trying to leave her abusive husband and from polygamy, and there's nowhere for that woman to go, and they have no money to get out, And so I don't know what they're going to do in the future, but that would be something I would love to see them do. What the girls from Escaping Polygamy have done, where they've started a foundation called Hope After Polygamy, and they continue their advocacy to help victims with educational scholarships and providing resources and tools and therapy links and all of these avenues to help. So what I see from Christine and Mary is that they're still at this kind of level where they're when you leave trauma and you leave an abusive partner.
I'm leaving this house, I'm leaving Flagstaff, I've already left Kody, and I'm moving on.
It can take years to get through everything, and you're not fixed after. It's been 4 years that she's been out. She hasn't been out long enough truly to be healed. She'll probably never fully heal or fully recover. It's this book that she's writing is wonderful, but it's also very premature because we don't really know from 10 years from now what our thoughts will be, on this entire situation. Time has a wonderful way of giving you a lot of clarity, and hindsight, as always, 2020, and it can allow you to really process what you've been through without having to write history, but to just see things clearly, right? So Christine and Mary are every much like Worthy, up and enough well. Kody made me feel worthless, so what does that tell you about the kind of show that TLC profited off of? What does that tell you about the directors and the producers and all of these people that put the show on air? And you see these women walking out and they're broken and they're saying, I felt worthless. Where were all of these people? Where were they? And why did the original producer, Tim Gibbons, dip out when the family actually probably could have used him the most? You know, when he realized that his experiment failed and he couldn't portray polygamy the way he wanted to, he left the show instead of apologizing and acknowledging that there's never going to be a level of accountability from TLC or the production company that put the show on air. My heart breaks for the women because, in truth, these women, as much as they can frustrate me as much as I can, get angry, these women were like basically being robots for Kody. They had to do whatever Kody said, and they lived under the fear of him and what he would do or not do, and the resources they would and would not get, and then they all had to play a role on a television show. But Christine tried to tell us 4 years how miserable her life was. It started in the first season, how broken she was when he started with Robin, and it never stopped. And now we find out, you know, if you go back and watch her journey, you're like, she was telling Kody back in Utah she hated polygamy. That was in 2005 and 6 that they moved in there. So think about that. She didn't leave until 2021. She stayed in a place for 16 years where she hated it. That's how much effort it took her to leave. That's how much resilience and strength it took her to leave. And it also took her the ability to look like a fraud, because for all of those years she was preaching to the public that polygamy was wonderful, great and blessed, but she was miserable. So she's now on the other end. And now she's trying to help others, which is wonderful. There's also resources to help women that you can share too. I hope I've seen her share some stuff about suicide awareness, which is wonderful. And I've also seen that with Janelle. I don't know if they're ready yet to speak about, you know, the resources for people leaving polygamy, because I don't know that they're ready to. When you start doing that's when you really cut yourself off from the community. When you become a threat to the polygamists, then you are no longer welcome. So Christine's journey out is not complete, I guess, is my long story short here, because she's not yet at that place where she's willing to completely separate herself from the world of polygamy. She's not ready to be an advocate, right? She doesn't have to be an advocate, by the way. She's posting things to try to help. That's great. But an advocate that helps the women leave is a very different person than what Christine is doing. And there are a lot of women that I work with, that I speak to, that are on the ground daily, trying to help women and children and even young men leave, and providing homes and food and, you know, places to stay, and getting them into this college and helping them get set up with therapists, and just having a community where they can go to that, they can get support. Those people have been so hurt by the show. And there are women and men that were on Sister Wives that were horribly degraded by the Brown family. And there is an aunt of Kristen, who was never an enemy, to Christine was never Christine's person, that hated her. She was someone that was desperately trying to save her niece and these kids from this life. And Christine viewed it like, you're fighting against my family. And then she made, you know, she did the episode with Kristen, and she didn't know that she could ever forgive Kristen, and then talked about Kristen until all, and said, I don't know what to do with my aunt, you know, and made it seem like her aunt was the crazy one, right? But it's Kristen Decker that today is, you know, still trying to help women 2 weeks ago and it's still currently looking and seeking housing for a woman that's trying to leave polygamy. Is that someone that's evil? Is that someone that hates Kristen?
No, that's my interpretation. As I've sat here and watched our episodes, what I've seen from Janelle.
Christine, are journalists or independent journalists like me that want to provide an accurate portrayal of polygamy and then get through the veil of the propaganda of the cult and share the truth, are we really unsafe? Because I'm still considered unsafe. I am still blocked by all of the F family, not all of them, by the way, Hunter hasn't blocked me, and I don't know, a couple of the girls, but most of them have me blocked, and they don't think I'm safe, and they think I'm like still against their family. And I'm against polygamy, so there's still that cult programming in there. You know, it's Cult Speak still coming out, and once she's able to reconnect with the family members that we're trying to help her truly, and we're trying to fight for her, then I'll know she's out. She's getting there, she's just not there yet. It takes a long time, you guys, a long time, but Kody made her feel worthless. What does that tell you about this culture? Tell me what your thoughts. are in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.